Welcome to Search Talk Live with search engine optimization and marketing experts Robert O'Haver and Caleb McKelvin, powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies.
Welcome back to another episode of Search Talk Live. I'm your host, Robert O'Haver. This week, Caleb McKelvin is out because he had a baby on Saturday morning at 4 a.m. in the morning. And with me today is my co-host, Matt Weber of Roar Internet Marketing Company. Matt, how's it going?
Fantastic, and great to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you, man. I don't like doing shows by myself.
And is this Caleb's first?
What?
Is this Caleb's first baby?
Yeah.
So he's doing some Google searching right now. And
yeah, when he's trying to, he probably hasn't had much sleep lately, but I'm sure it's to go. Anyway, if it's your first time listening to the show, I want to let everyone know about the show and what it's all about. We do internet marketing. We talk everything to do with digital marketing. It could be search engine optimization, social media, conversion optimization, paid search, you name it, we cover it. And each week we try to have a guest on that shares their knowledge and help you become a better internet marketer. So we're going to get to it. You can go to if you've never been to searchtalklive.com, you can go there and listen to previous shows that we've had in the past with some really amazing guests that we've had. And today is no exception. Today with us is Keith Goode. Keith, how are you?
Hi, good afternoon from Austin, Texas.
Yes.
I'm well. How are you?
Keith, you are with...
SEO Clarity. We are a software as a service. We are a massive data aggregator, and we focus on trying to help internet marketers make the best possible decision based on data, not just, reading a blog post and going, well, let's go do that. No, let's look at some data. So we've got more data than we know what to do with sometimes, and I hope to share some of that with you today.
Sure. Matt, before we get started, I wanted you to tell us a little bit about yourself and about your company.
we have been doing internet marketing for 10 years at Roar Internet Marketing, just outside of Orlando in Altamont Springs. Okay. And we do both custom web development and internet marketing, SEO, do lots of pay-per-click management, lots of local search. And we specialize in elective medicine and home services. Anybody that's driving a lead and a cost per lead is somebody we tend to work with.
Nice. And you typically travel around and train people on
I do a lot of teaching throughout North America about Google AdWords specifically, and a little bit of teaching about Google Analytics. But I have probably taught over 100,000 people Google AdWords in the past 5 years.
That's big. All right, your turn, Keith. Tell us about SEO Clarity.
Absolutely. It's a company based out of Chicago. We are a software as a service for SEOs, and we aggregate data for analytics, crawl data, link data, ranking data, the whole 9 yards to give everyone who uses our platform the complete picture. And we also have just recently launched a brand new free product that folks can use called Spark. You can find that in the Google Chrome plugin store.
What is Spark?
Spark, it allows you to, on the fly, take a look at the relevance of a page for specific keywords. You can take a look at any of the usability issues on the page. So if there's a server response issue, or if you're missing canonical tags or any of that, it sort of shows that to you straight in the interface. And of course, this has been part of our platform in the past, but we thought, well, why not open this up to the public? So it is now free and available in the Google Chrome plugin store.
Oh, very awesome.
Keith, I'm fascinated about SEO Clarity and its mission. And one of the things I'm really excited to talk to you about is how do we help local businesses understand what their, in quotes, I'm using air quotes now, Google rank is, because so many local businesses still are living in that era 4 years ago when they could go to their desktop computer, do a search, and go, hey, that's me, and I'm in position number 2. Talk to us about how does a business measure where they are?
In multiple ways, right? I mean, as you're aware, Google has fairly complicated Serps out there, and they are not just focused on organic results, where, as you mentioned, 10 years ago, someone who was trying to get into this internet thing would be able to see themselves in the ranking. But there's also the local 3-pack. There's also, as you are very aware, Google Ads, Google AdWords. There's also universal results. There's images. So it's more than just organic ranking. It's more than just paid ranking. It is a combination. It's a share of voice type of mission that SEO should be on. Don't just focus on organic, focus on the whole 9 yards. So local businesses, we do have a part of the feature in the platform for local businesses to see where they rank in the local 3-pack as well.
Nice.
You know, what I got out of your answer is that it's trying to teach businesses to be more like retail marketers. Like Procter & Gamble isn't concerned that they're just on the top shelf. Procter & Gamble is concerned that they got a product on the top shelf, the middle shelf, and the lower shelf. And it sounds like we have to change our view on search engine optimization to look at holistically how are we using all of those elements that you just described?
Yeah, so that's exactly right. It's a multifaceted business. So why should you focus only on one measure?
Right.
Okay. Now, you said you had some case studies, right? Where you're showing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. What was your question?
You were saying you had some case studies on micro changes in the Serps.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we've seen some massive changes across the Serps from everything from the local 3-pack, which we measure, but also you're probably very familiar with the Knowledge Graph Instant Answer Box as well. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing a massive rise in those in the Serps as well. So, as I reported, I was just in Tokyo this past month speaking at Cross Forum. And they were very interested in seeing a lot of the big changes that had happened in the Serps over here in the U.S. because they are fully aware that those changes will soon be reflected in Japan, if they are not already reflected. So to give you sort of an idea of what we're looking at from Serp changes that have happened already and that they're reflecting in the data, we're seeing obviously successive searches with Hummingbird, increasing the prevalence of those instant answers at the top of the page. Mm-hmm. And I've got some new data on that. I originally reported in Tokyo that was about 3.6% of the queries that we report on. We report on over 120 million queries. And that has actually gone up significantly. It's gone up almost threefold to nearly 10% in June of this year. So think about that. That's not just how do I do this, where can I find this? Who is the president? It's not just those types of queries. We track 120 plus million queries that include just single words or double words. Like if you go right now to your search engine and you type in catalytic converter, you are going to trigger a Google answer box suggestion where it says, people who've looked for this have asked the question, what is a catalytic converter? How do I install a catalytic converter? How do I replace a catalytic converter? So you're getting these instant answers and these instant answer suggestions for more than just words that have the triggers in them. Now, we do see the top 3 trigger words. They are how to, what is, how do. And right now, as we're seeing it, it's a space that's really dominated by health questions, as you would expect. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do I get rid of a cold? How do I treat the flu? What is this thing on my foot? Those types of questions. And so it is definitely something that is dominated by health, but we are seeing it creep into more and more queries.
I'm wondering if it has something to do with RankBrain as far as it trying to figure out the intent, the searcher intent. You know, if it doesn't exactly know what that searcher intent is, it gives you a list there so that they see who's clicking on what and to better understand that query, that user query.
Yeah, absolutely. RankBrain is really coming into its own as an element within the search algorithm. When it first came out, they were hesitant to release it too broadly, and they tested it against some human engineers, and what they found is, so think about RankBrain is this. You're probably going to be using different words in the next 10 years that you have never used before. Especially if you're in touch with the youth, the young folks who like to come up with fascinating words like bay, know. So bay was not a word that was in use 5, 6, 7 years ago. Yeah. But it's in broad use now where people are referring to their loved one. So Google has to figure out a way to understand these words very quickly without having some manual engineer go in and program it.
Right.
And then you sort of factor this across many countries, many dialects. It's just not something that they can grow to accommodate. So RankBrain is an artificial intelligence aspect of the algorithm that comes in and it tries to make assumptions about words based on context, history, similar words and phrases, demographics of usage, and it's doing quite well. So they tested it against humans, human engineers, no less,
right.
And they discovered that it had about an 80% success rate compared to the humans who had about a 70% success rate. So as a result, they pushed it out pretty broadly, and it is becoming more and more a factor where it's saying, all right, this word is similar to this, so I can accommodate this query now. So as you mentioned, this certainly comes into play when it comes to knowledge graph.
Yeah.
What role does the user's past search history, both on that query and globally, have on RankBrain results?
As someone who was not in fact a Google engineer, believe it or not, I can't speak to that specifically, but I will say that overall Hummingbird, since its release at the end of 2013, has played a significant role in that, in basically allowing you to do successive searches. And, I was in Tokyo and I was showing off Hummingbird to folks, and I was, I said, what is the weather today? And it answered my question. And then I asked, what is the weather for tomorrow? In that very short time between my first question and my second question, Google figured out exactly where in Tokyo I was. So they gave me the weather for Shinjuku, which is a neighborhood within Tokyo. So, and it's fascinating because it's able to sort of piece together lots and lots of information, not just based on your queries themselves, but your location, and time of year, the whole 9 yards. So it's really it's amazing.
Yeah. So you understand what I was saying. It's not where Google can say, "Hey, can you be more specific with your question?" Instead of just one word, it's going to throw some results there. So eventually it'll learn from those clicks that okay, this is what that searcher intent is.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's really cool about artificial intelligence at Google is they don't just have RankBrain. I think it was last year they released something called Tensorflow. I don't know if you've heard of this or not, but it is actually open-sourced artificial intelligence. They're allowing the public to contribute to artificial intelligence. And again, this speaks to the fact that no successful business can continually increase headcount and stay successful.
Right.
So what they do is they use sort of the best in human ingenuity combined with artificial intelligence to come up with the best results possible.
Yeah.
And we're seeing some interesting changes as a result of this. A while back, I wrote about something called what I'm calling is the big squeeze, Google's big squeeze. They are actually reducing the size of Serps. As SEOs, traditionally, we've been able to go, all right, I'm going to do some keyword research, and I'm going to figure out where I am now. And then I can plot my course to the top 10, the top 5, and the top 3. Mm-hmm. More often than not, as I remember at least, we wound up looking at our keyword rankings and seeing we were in the 95th position and go, oh, wow, it's not so great. Well, we're seeing that Google's not even showing 100 results for a lot of searches. In fact, around 16.3% of the queries that we track are not showing 100 results.
No kidding.
No kidding.
Is that because of lack of competition, or is that just...
Well, think about the goals of Panda. So Panda's goal was twofold. First, it was to reduce the amount of duplicate content on in the Serps, but also to reduce flat and pointless and meaningless content as well.
Right.
Well, this is a continued evolution, and Panda was rolled into the main algorithm earlier. Mm-hmm. This is basically saying we don't just want to get rid of duplicate content. We want to basically avoid showing similar content. And I often point to a conversation I had with Dwayne Forrester a few years back when he was still at Bing.
Yeah.
And he said, we're search engines. We see the web. We see the entire web. What makes you think you can simply rewrite a Wikipedia article and we're not going to know? So I thought that was genius, but that would have required a human engineer to take a look at, a quality engineer to go, oh yeah, look at this guy. He's rewriting Wikipedia articles. All right, ding him. Now they're able to do that automatically. They're able to do that using artificial intelligence. And so I think this reduction of Serps with fewer than 100 results is a result of them eliminating similar content as well. What's funny is we're also seeing about 10.2% of the queries that are having fewer than 10 results on page 1. So this goes not just to speaking to the reduction of similar content, but now we're seeing that valuable real estate being taken up by things that Google feels can answer the question better. Instant answers, local 3-pack, universal results, news results, all of that.
You know, I told John Mueller when he was on the show, the simple solution to all this is do infinite scroll on the search results. Then everybody's on the first page. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, but I did say that.
How do you sell that space? That's the thing. You know, Google, especially if you're an AdWords person like you are, you realize that Google has that nice, valuable page 1. And, you know, I guess maybe if you want to have 200 ads on a single page, it's possible you can do that. But I don't know.
Yeah.
What advice can we give to people who are listening, who are marketing their business or business owners, and they're saying they're looking at that knowledge graph, instant answers come up, and you know what's coming next is they're going to ask us SEO experts, how do I get in that knowledge graph? How do I become the source in that knowledge graph?
Oh, man, that is just so easy. I'm just kidding.
Click your heels. No, just kidding.
Yeah. So the thing is that Google is trying to provide the best possible answer it can, but there are a few tips and tricks that we can provide to formatting the content in the best possible way to answer those questions. And so I did a webinar a while back on how to get into the answer box, or at least what we were seeing was consistent across people who wound up in the answer box. First of all, you don't have to rank number 1. In fact, I've seen a lot of folks that popped up in the instant answer box that the result that was being shown was also shown in 9th position. So, you know, it's a nice boost to get to that number 1 spot while still being ranked number 9 organically.
Yeah.
Formatting makes a huge difference. And so how you answer the question is very important. A long form piece of content probably is not going to get you into the answer box. But if you provide ordered or unordered lists, that's a boost. We're also seeing that if you those list items, if you use additional markup for that, so like H3s or H4s, that is another signal to sort of go, here's the summary of this point, include this. And so they will essentially, we've seen some cases where they put all of the list items themselves into that answer box when it was a how-to type of question, like how to paint a metal fence. Again, that's an interesting one to look up. If you look it up now, how to paint a metal fence actually gives you the result, how to paint wrought iron. So it wasn't, you know, again, this goes back to RankBrain. RankBrain is like, I generally, when I think about wrought iron, I think about fences. So I'm going to answer this question by talking about how to paint wrought iron instead. So that's interesting in and of itself. But if you take a look at the result that's there and you take a look at the markup on the page, they've done some really good markup to indicate what's an important point on this page.
And when you say markup, are you thinking about schema markup as well? Because it would seem like classifying of data and categorization of data would be a critical step in getting into that box.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about it. You have to make the information on your page as easily digestible by machines. And I don't know of a better way to do that than by using schema markup, than by using RDFA or any sort of other type of markup that indicates what elements of the page mean. You know, we can do very general markup as well. This can include headers, you know, H1s through H5s or 6s. And of course, these do denote importance on the page, but these have been manipulated quite well in the past by SEOs. And Google might be more inclined to listen to someone who's used schema on the page.
Have you seen any data referring to the rich snippets, or not the rich snippets, I'm sorry, the knowledge graph as far as click-throughs on, you know, are they clicking through to that site or are they just getting their information and leaving? What is the percentages of that?
And where does that click show up?
Yeah, so that's two interesting question. Yeah, analytics. No, I'm just kidding.
But does it show up on your?
Yeah.
What position is it related to?
Yeah.
Google is being a little different than they used to be when it came to the answer box. I remember when it first came out, Google was throwing in information from sites, but not giving credit to the sites from which they took the data.
Right.
And that was really irritating a lot of SEOs as a result, understandably. So now Google provides a link at the bottom of the answer box to the source of the content, unless it's a general piece of information, like if you ask a math question or if you ask a stock question. But if you ask a very specific question and it pulls information from someone else's site, it gives them credit now. We're seeing click-throughs between 15 and 30%.
Wow.
On that answer box. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot at the 15% level, but if you think about 30%, ordinarily a number one result doesn't even get you that. Even branded number one results don't get you 30% click-through rate. So this is a really important area to try to focus on, try to get your most important content on. And obviously answer the question, be the answer. And, as Rand Fishkin might say, make sure it's 10 times the answer that your competitors are giving as well.
Yeah, 10x content.
10x, yeah.
So, I would like to see, and I know you don't have this, but I'd like to see, are they pogo sticking after they go to that page, or are they going through the site more? Is it traffic that's worth even having on your site, I guess, so to speak?
You're right. We really can't measure that unless they're a client of ours and are sort of integrating their analytics into our platform.
Sure.
But I think you can probably tell how well they're doing based on how long they stay in that position. I figure that if Google sees a massive spike in bounces of people who visit that particular page, they're probably not going to continue ranking it as well.
Good point.
So, they don't want to have to manually take a look at that and check the quality of the page. They can tell based on how long users dwell on your page and how few people bounce off. Of course, they can't measure conversion rates, but you, as a business owner, can certainly measure the success of that page by how often people convert. What is the average order value? What is the revenue per visit? These are meaningful metrics. Traffic's great. Don't get me wrong. But if it doesn't convert, forget about it. At Cross Forum, there was a gentleman who spoke before me. He used a great phrase. He says, traffic is vanity, conversions are sanity.
Wow, that's awesome. And speaking of that, you had a great blog post on your website in May about mapping queries to the buying cycle. And I think where do some SEOs get off on the wrong foot is the research on what is the target, what is our objective, is wrong. And then from that point, everything else in the SEO process is flawed. Can you give us some counsel on and guidance on how does a business out there that's listening to the show pick a query that they want to rank for?
Great question, Matt.
Well, there's a couple of ways. If you already have analytics set up on your site, then and you've already got Google Search Console set up, Google Search Console will let you see what queries you currently rank for. You can see the CTRs. You can see any number of information just in Google Search Console. Sometimes you can get that data from analytics, not so much. It's still funny to me when I go into Google Analytics and I can actually see keyword traffic. It's actually a little surprising to me.
I rank first for not provided. No, just kidding.
Whoa! Yeah, exactly. Parentheses not provided, close parentheses. I am awesome at that. But certainly taking a look at Google Search Console will allow you to see what queries you're currently relevant for right now. There are other types of tools out there that you can use. I'm thinking of SEMrush or SEMrush. I'm going to figure out which they're called at some point in the future.
SEMrush.
Because I've heard both. I've literally heard SEMrush and SEMrush. We also have a feature within SEO Clarity called Competitor Keywords that allows us to take a look and see where a site currently ranks right now. So you can see, what Google is saying you're currently relevant for at this point. Mm-hmm. But it ultimately comes back to, number one, what is your goal as a business? Number two, is that goal aligned with what your users are seeking at this point? And then you can sort of back your way into a proper selection of keywords from that point. Now, when you take a look at keyword mapping to content, that's really all about, okay, so how do I want to organize my website to facilitate a conversion in the best possible way? So, in the old days, folks would say, well, we've got 20 possible relevant keywords for this particular product. I'm going to go create 20 different pages. And it didn't make any sense at all to do that. However, what you could do is you could say, well, what is the best possible converting keyword for this product? What is tapping directly into the intent of the searcher to buy? And I'm going to build a page for that. And I'm going to, anything else, maybe it's long tail traffic after that, but, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm only going to focus on answering the promise or fulfilling the promise that Google gave when they ranked me for this keyword. That's how I try to look at Serps anymore. Anyway, a Serp is a promise from Google. Google is saying, I will help you find the product you're looking for. I will help you book the great vacation you're wanting to go on. I promise you're going to find the information you seek for your report. And it's our duty as SEOs to fulfill that promise. And Google ranks us according to our ability to fulfill that promise. If we don't fulfill that promise, well, guess what? We get the drop in rankings.
Right.
Go ahead. You made an interesting point earlier in the show about a word like bay coming into our vocabulary, which wasn't there not that long ago. How often do you think, in your experience, a business owner or an SEO should realign their targeted queries? When is the vocabulary or the semantic use of words changing for searchers? How often?
This varies per industry, obviously. If you're someone who maybe works at Rolling Stone as an SEO, your language might change quite often. Different types of music, different types of references to different artists, and I don't know, different instruments. We've got some. I think we've got some inventors here in Austin that came up with like a noise box, I think is the name of the instrument. And there are people who are like musicians now that use this noise box instead. So, that would change quite a bit. Now, if I'm, on the other hand, if I'm selling paper or if I'm, even if I'm selling computers, that doesn't change as often. Laptops are still laptops. Tablets are still tablets. Now, I did work at Dell when tablets started getting really, really popular. And there was a big move to make sure that we targeted our content toward tablets as it was appropriate. So, Rolling Stone might see language change every 6 months. Computers might see language change every 2 to 3 years. Mobile devices might see the language change every year or so. It really does depend on the industry, how often you should rejigger your approach to language.
Sure. Those of you just tuning in, you're listening to Search Talk Live. We are powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies. You can go to robertpalmercompanies.com. Check out that. I'd recommend it. See all the different companies. If you're looking to refi or purchase a home, you can get a mortgage there. All kinds of great stuff. But we are talking with Keith Goode, Chief Evangelist for SEO Clarity. We're talking SEO.
And you're going to have to face it. You're addicted to love.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
So yes, I'm the chief SEO evangelist for SEO Clarity, which means that I evangelize SEO. I'm not a preacher, by the way.
Okay.
Just so you know.
I
have been asked.
Can I get a no?
Can I get an amen?
So yeah. Now, what are you seeing anything? Are you seeing stuff on the local level, or are you seeing national level stuff, or?
So we tend to track more national, international keywords. We were founded as a tool specifically for SEOs. Okay. But then this niche, I can never say the word right because I'm a little worried about saying it too, niche. So the niche of local sort of came into prominence a lot more recently. So yeah, we tend to focus a little bit more on the broader international keyword focuses. We are seeing quite a bit happening there as well. Again, with AI, the increase of use of AI in the algorithms, this is becoming just an industry that changes even more often than it was before. I mean, think about it. Up until 2013, we SEOs could say that our jobs changed every 6 months, essentially. And now I think it's changing. Every couple of months, there's something big that happens. Every quarter, there's something that big coming out of Google. There's a big change. So, it's a fun career to be in. I will say that much. I can say that I haven't done the same job for the 10 years that I've been in SEO. Yeah. But certainly it is changing a lot.
I'd have to say it's kind of like med school. Like you have to just continue learning. I've been doing it for 14 years and I'm still learning something every day.
You can find a surprise around some blog article somewhere. You can find a surprise.
Yeah. Well, even though we do track internationally, we do grab everything. When we take a look at a SERP, we grab the entire snippet that we can. We grab the HTML, we grab universal results, and we do ranking accordingly. We are actually seeing at about 6.1% of all of the queries we track, and again, we're talking over 120 million keywords, that they're showing local results for that. So, and it's not just for local intent queries. That's the most interesting thing to me. If I am sitting in my house, I'm in Round Rock, Texas, and I type in the word running shoes, there's no local intent behind my query that I'm aware of. Right. I might be looking for Zappos. I might be looking for, I don't know, Amazon or maybe even the Nike site to pop up. But what I get is I get local results. Sure. I get the local 3-pack. I get the ads at the top. And, I have to scroll twice to get to the first organic result for that. So I think, if you think local is sort of a flash in the pan, it's here to stay. Sure. Google is trying to get you to the point where they can answer your need faster. How can you do that even faster than, Amazon Prime shipping? Well, show me where the store is where I can go right now and pick it up.
Yeah. You made an interesting tweet about, I think it was last week, where you talked about more people now are beginning their product-related searches on Amazon than on Google. What effect do you think that has on businesses and SEOs now and the work that they do to get products ranked?
Well, it irritates quite a few people, I'm sure, that people are using that. But you really have to go where the users are if you want to be successful. The fact of the matter is Amazon is a search engine, just as YouTube is a search engine. A lot of folks think about SEO, search engine optimization, as just Google or just Bing, or if you're in the Far East, Baidu, or Yandex or whatever. But there are so many more search engines in the world than just the top search engines that we know about. Amazon is its own search engine. YouTube is its own search engine. The App Store is its own search engine. Mm-hmm. So again, this is all about making sure that you I liken our industry, or even any online industry, to a stool. You can either have a stool with one leg and worry you're going to fall over at any moment, or you can add legs to that stool and stabilize yourself. So, when we think about the industry, don't just worry about organic results. You have to be in paid. You have to be, if you're a local business, you have to be in local results. If you have an app, you need to be in the App Store, and you need to be optimized very well for that as well. And if you have a product that you can, in fact, sell through Amazon, then by all means, get on there and rank well there as well.
Yep. And I mean, even with local, I talk to local businesses quite a bit, and one thing I harp on is, they think that because they're, let's say, they're in Austin, and they're in an outskirts city of Austin, that they have to be, their name, they have to list every city and all this other stuff that they service in.
Right.
With what is it, Pigeon. They don't have to do that. That they have to. They're able to, Google understands that geographical location, so they can find that stuff.
And what is your sense on click-through rate in the local listings? Because proximity was a bigger factor at one time, and you had everybody rushing to get a PO box in the city that they wanted to rank for. Remember those days?
Yeah, proximity to Centroid. That was the term we used.
Yeah, but now it looks like click-through rate is a part of the Google local pack as much as it is organic and ads. Would you agree, Keith?
Well, yeah, but also think about this. I mean, we're seeing a strong correlation to ratings as well. And this is why a lot of businesses are saying, please rate us. Please go out to Google and rate us, because we want to, show that we are of value to people who have used our services in the past. Google takes into account those user ratings, and there you go. I mean, so the thing is proximity to Centroid is not as big a factor, but I think what we're looking at is proximity to the person searching, and then also how reliable you've shown yourself to be in the past are also an important factor as well. If I do that search for running shoes, I don't just get the Fleet Feet down the street from me, and I'm giving a lot of free advertising to some of these businesses, aren't I? But I get Texas Running Company, which is down near the Arboretum, which is, I don't know, what is that, 12, 13 miles away from me? So it's not necessarily close to me by most people's standards. By Texas standards, that's right next door. Right. But they get great reviews from their users, so they're going to show up on my map as well.
Yeah. So I mean, I wonder what the correlation is between reviews versus as far as those local listings ranking.
We haven't actually done the study specifically on that yet. We have studies running all the time, because what do you do with a bunch of data geeks when you have a bunch of data? Well, you run studies. We just haven't run that one in particular. We did go through an extensive development process to develop out the local business additional feature in our platform, but we haven't actually looked at that yet. I would be hesitant I can tell you what my assumptions are, but I would be hesitant to do that without data to back it up. And
I know that it used to rely heavily on the reviews, but this is before Google kind of stepped up now with the reviews, where if you're in that location, you can, it pops up on your smartphone, hey, leave a review, which I think is the best thing they could ever done in a long time as far as mobile search. But
yeah,
go ahead.
No, I agree. And I get that from Facebook too. I get the Facebook where it's like, here, check in and give a review to this place as well. So, there are many options for folks to provide feedback about their experience at your location, including Yelp, including Facebook, including Google. Any way that you can encourage your folks to do that, fantastic. Here's another way to do it: be awesome.
Yeah, right.
Right.
The thing is, I was talking about link building in Tokyo as well, and the thing is people are like, how do I get links? How do I sort of game the system still? And I said, well, here's the best way to get links. Be awesome at what you do. Be link worthy.
Best way to get reviews. It's the same
with reviews. Yeah, the best way to get reviews is to be review worthy in a good way. Don't be review worthy in a bad way.
Right.
1 star, they suck. You don't want that. You want the 5-star ratings.
Well, even at that point, you want to be on top of those reviews that are bad and respond to them. Don't just try to bury them or whatever.
Yeah. I think about, a lot of companies think I'm going to do this and then I'm going to set it and I'm going to forget it.
Right.
And you cannot do that. You've got to actively respond to your reviews. I think about AT&T, not the best loved company in this country, but if you go out and you're an AT&T customer and you tweet, oh man, my service sucks today, AT&T really needs to get on their game. Well, guess what? Within 30 minutes or an hour, you're going to get a support tweet back to you going, hey, I don't know what the problem is, but here, contact me and let's get it fixed.
Yep.
That is the mentality that we should all have. Don't just have a Twitter account. Converse and help your users when they state there's a problem.
Yep.
On the local side, I think there's another segmentation coming. We had a conversation with our Google rep in which we were getting pushback because of how we classified one of our clients. And the question was, does somebody walk into this business or not? And in this particular case, it was a pest control company. But imagine you're an industry that's very near and dear to our hearts, all three of us, which is AC repair right now, right?
Yeah.
Orlando and Texas. You're not walking into your AC repair company.
Good point.
It looks like Google is trying to distinguish between those businesses that have foot traffic and those don't. And that variable is going to somehow impact what gets displayed in those local listings.
That's huge.
Yeah, and here again, I would really caution businesses from trying to have a one-legged stool. You can't sit on a one-legged stool unless you've got really good balance. But Google reviews are fantastic. But again, look at Yelp, look at Facebook, but also think about service provider types of sites like Angie's List, for example. Personally, as a fairly new homeowner myself, that's one of the first places I look for advice. Also, Nextdoor. I've got it's a great little forum where homeowners in a neighborhood can share advice and make recommendations. Be in all of the areas that you need to be in order to drive more traffic to yourself. And that could include Nextdoor. It could include Angie's List. But don't just rely on Google as your only source for those types of reviews.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is a lot of companies, they don't utilize it. They don't go in and, Google just started the local guides program for people to actually, if they're at a restaurant, they can take a picture of the front of it or whatever and add that to their listing. Those type of things you really need to stay on, because now you've got, look at it. If you're doing local search, you've got paid, then you've got the local search, and then you've got the organic search results. So,
well below the fold oftentimes.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So again, don't just rely on your organic listing. And if you're just now saying I need to get into this internet thing, I might recommend using an agency instead to handle all of this stuff, because they're going to be able to dedicate the time. And let's be honest, a lot of one man and two man, or I hate to say one man, one person, two person shops. They're working. They're busy working. They don't have time to monitor Twitter. They don't have time to monitor Yelp. But if you get an agency, a local agency that can help you out, they can take care of that for you.
Keith, you had experience at Dell that I'm sure people listening to the show are dying to hear, and that is, how do you rank for a product that everybody else has?
Good question, man. He's good.
Yeah. How do you do that? Well, first of all, Dell has the advantage of being an old brand. And as we all know, Google loves brands. If you've shown yourself to, have longevity, if you've got a lot of brand equity, that's really going to help you in ranking. Now, how does a guy who is brand new to the computer industry and wants to have a revolutionary laptop that he's going to sell break into that market and beat a Dell or an HP or actually Compaq is HP. Never mind. Talk about old school. But how do they do that? Well, again, this does go back to the blog post that Mitchell, our co-founder, put together about keyword mapping. Well, you have to understand user intent. You have to understand the keywords that really matter to your users and to build content according to that. Yeah. Secondly, this goes back to your discussion with Rand Fishkin about outreach. Find out who the influencers are in your industry and build those relationships. Now, fortunately for us at Dell, we had a very effective and engaged PR team, and we were able to use the relationships that they had developed in the course of their jobs to help promote new products and to sort of encourage folks to link to new products or to do unboxing videos or all of that. So, it's really difficult to say, here's one thing you can do to be just like Dell and rank for a very competitive keyword. There were years that were spent building that reputation. And Google does, abide by that in many senses. But then you have to be a technically nimble site. You have to be a site that is crawlable, indexable, the whole 9 yards from that respect. But then you have to create content that really matters. We found that the most searched content was actually, if you took all of the keywords combined, was actually support keywords. And so while I was there, we started a campaign with our support team to make sure that we built out enough articles to answer the questions that were being asked. And this speaks to another aspect of SEO that I think a lot of people forget. Mm-hmm. You don't just write content around keywords. I think a lot of SEOs have been guilty of this, where they do their keyword research and they have a fine list of keywords that they've developed, and they're very impressed by their research. And then they walk over to their content teams and they go, write content about these keywords. Mm-hmm. And their content writers, if they are not subject matter experts, look at the list and they're like, write what about these keywords? Well, you have to tap into the conversations and the questions being asked. So if you have a site like Dell, take a look at your site search logs and find out what are the questions being asked in site search. go out to Quora and look at Quora and see what sort of questions are being asked about this specific laptop, or Yahoo Answers or Wiki Answers. So what are the conversations that you can tap into with the content? Don't just write content about keywords. Write context-based content.
Right. Or create some kind of like a knowledge base type thing, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
So
and
really,
oftentimes
it's a knowledge plan rather than a content plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. You know what 10x content is for me? 10x content for me is the content that actually answers the question. That doesn't beat around the bush.
Yeah.
And oftentimes 10x content is not that hard to accomplish when you take a look at your competition, because they're doing exactly what I just outlined a second ago, which is just doing the keyword research and just writing. They're putting keywords on a page and then they're filling in words around those keywords. And that's just not effective. You have to answer the question. You have to, again, fulfill the promise that the SERP made.
It's a great topic for Robert and I, because I'm sure we both have at least 5 times a week a client that comes to us with an e-commerce site, and all the product descriptions are copied and pasted from the manufacturer, and they look at you and they say, what can I do to rank better?
Yeah. Well.
How do I rank number 1?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me give you the history of SEO.
Yeah.
I want to come back, if we may, just a little bit to the international portion of your discussion, which was interesting, and what role AI might play in ranking internationally. Do you think that now is going to lessen the impact of conventional factors like TLDs and how we structure our subdomains? Can a .com now compete with a .de or a .fr because of the impact of AI?
Oh, great and loaded question, by the way. That is fantastic. So I'll be honest with you. I've worked with a number of international companies, and I'm not necessarily sure I see a huge value now in switching to a CCTLD. I'll be honest. Oftentimes, if you take a look at some of the more successful online enterprises, they're using .com with a subfolder that is, JP / ES or /MX or / well, not even US, but they're taking advantage of consolidating the domain strength on a single domain rather than dispersing that across 120 different CCTLDs. So this is just based on my experience. This is not SEO Clarity talking, but I have seen so many examples of sites that tried to go to a CCTLD structure and they started losing ranking.
For our listeners, can you explain what a CCTLD is?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's all right. Just some of them may not know.
Yeah. Country code top level domain. So this would be, your .co.jp for Japan, your .ca for Canada, your .co.uk for the United Kingdom, or the up until a few weeks ago United Kingdom. So when you talk about CCTLDs, you are literally talking about a completely separate website in Google's mind. Whereas if you have a .com with your country codes and subfolders, it all is part of the same .com. And so there are a lot of big, huge international websites that are very hesitant to even consider doing a CCTLD structure because they're aware of how valuable that .com domain is. So some of the ways that you can make sure that you're ranking the right pages in the SERPs, well, I would say hreflang is quite valuable from a sitemap perspective. I can't say the same for any sort of on-page code perspective. In other words, if you bulk up the page with 120 different hreflangs, that may not have the kind of benefit that you would have if you just listed that in your XML sitemap instead. Bill Hunt does a really good job of talking about using hreflang on sites, and many, I've talked to him a few times, and I think he might agree. I don't know. We can have a debate at some point, he and I, about whether or not you should do it on page or if you should just leave it in the sitemap. But I would say, for the most part, build your .com first, and if it makes sense to go to a CCTLD later on, go for it. But I feel like most SEOs are going to find that is detrimental.
Well, I think you got another issue to come into play, which is the conversion portion of it. If you're in France what's your perception of a website that is a .fr as opposed to a website that is a .com? How do you perceive the content based on that? Ranking elements notwithstanding,
right?
What's the conversion effect?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if they see in the Serps, they see you next to a site that has their country code, will they trust you more? And I think that depends on the country. I've got a good friend of mine that's is German, and he says, doesn't really matter to us. .com, .de, it doesn't really matter. But you might get a country that maybe tends to be more nationalistic, maybe have a more nationalistic view, and perhaps maybe a .fr is preferred over a .com from a click-through rate. Now, from a conversion rate, that's where your content comes into play. This is where your UX team comes into play, and can help you convert on the page itself. I would encourage, whether you use a .com or whether you use a CCTLD, that you use localization in the URL itself. So if you're in Japan, use the kana in the URL. Don't use the Romaji, for example. Romaji is the our alphabet basically. Mm-hmm. Use the localized writing in the URL. Google accepts it, and the users tend to like it better.
Wouldn't that also be dependent on who your customer is? So, like, if you're in France, but you market to the entire all of Europe and the United States, then you probably wouldn't want to do that, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah. Again, it goes back to the customer, and it goes back to providing the best possible search experience you can. We, at SEO Clarity for I don't know how long now, we've really been pushing folks to move away from the idea of SEO being search engine optimization and talk about it being search experience optimization, because it really is. It's all about making sure that the users have the best possible search experience from the SERP all the way to conversion, and control as much of that as you possibly can in the process.
Definitely. Now we're down to about 7 minutes now left in the show. I want to thank you for coming on the show. Those are the people that want to go check out SEO Clarity. It is SEOclarity.net, correct?
That is correct.
And they can check out everything you have to offer there. You can get the link to the plugin for Chrome, correct?
Yeah. So the Spark plugin, there's a link on the homepage to that, and please do check it out. I think you're going to find a lot of benefit to that. Most folks, they have their website and they're like, I think I'm doing okay, but this will actually tell you if you've got any technical issues on the page, if there are any relevance issues on the page, like what actually, based on the content on your page, what are you actually relevant for? Spark will tell you that.
Nice.
And it's free.
Yeah.
It's free.
Well, it's been a great interview, and I really appreciate you coming on the show. Maybe we can have you back sometime.
Oh, by all means. Yeah. Like I said, we're doing research all the time. And so, next time that I'm available to be on your show, we'll probably have 5 or 6 different other studies. I didn't even get to go through all of the studies that I have on this show. So, we have more data than we know what to do with, like I said.
I hear a sequel.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. So, yeah, we'll get together and schedule something. I want to thank you again for being on the show. Matt, I really want to thank you for standing in for Caleb. If you guys want to check out his website, it is, what is it? It's
RoarOnTheWeb.com.
Yeah, RoarOnTheWeb.com.
Yes. Send my regards to Caleb and tell him I said congratulations, and hope he gets some sleep in the next 18 years.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. I'll send you a link to the show after the show.
All right. Thanks.
Uh-huh. All right, guys, thank you for listening to Search Talk Live. We are here every Tuesday from 3:30 to 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. You can visit the website, searchtalklive.com. You can get past shows. You can go on iTunes. We are on iHeartRadio nationally in the United States. The bad thing about iHeartRadio is I found out from a guy in England and Ireland that they can't get iHeartRadio for some reason. It's blocked. I don't know why they would do that. You'd think they'd want more listeners.
Doesn't sound very radical to me. Yeah.
Yeah. So we need to get with those guys and talk to them. But Matt, do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, it was a great show, and it was a fantastic, I think, for people to understand about this new world of search engine experience rather than search engine optimization.
Yep.
And it sounds like we're in the middle of a big paradigm shift back to getting to know your target customer. 'Cause I think the industry got very empirical and got kind of hung up on rankings and numbers, and the person behind the search got lost a little bit. And now where I think we're going back to is who's behind the search and what are they trying to accomplish and what are their goals, and understanding that.
Yeah, the user intent, the user experience, it all boils down to the user. You don't want people going to your site and bouncing off. You want to have a clear path to your goal. All that good stuff is super important. You can't, even on mobile, a lot of people, they'll throw up a WordPress site and go, oh, my site's responsive, but they don't actually look at the structure of the site and how it's laid out on mobile, and it doesn't make sense half the time. So those things you got to pay attention to. There's just a million different things we can't cover in 1 hour, and we could do it in, that's why we have the show every week. But you really have to pay attention not to just where you're ranking, because a lot of the times, if you do it right, those things fall into place automatically.
Right.
Which, if you got a good experience, they're going to come to your site, they're going to go through, they're going to purchase, or they're going to fill out that form or read your blog post, or, as long as you have that 10x content we were talking about earlier. Do you want to add to that?
No, but you can think about it in the physical world too. Everybody's got an example of a restaurant that doesn't have great decor, that doesn't have all of the aesthetics, but man, the food is fantastic.
Exactly.
And what happens? People come and that restaurant thrives. And you've been to a restaurant where somebody spent a ton of money on the aesthetics and what does it look like and the best location.
The food's terrible.
And the food's terrible. And what happened to that restaurant? It failed. So it really comes back to the basics of making sure your content is that great quality food that brings people back.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Let's see. And again, you can go to roarontheweb.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then SEOclarity.net. You can check that out. And be sure and tune into the show next Tuesday. We're going to have Stephen Spencer, author of 3 SEO books, one being The Art of SEO, which is probably one of the biggest books in the industry to date. And he's got some special offers you guys really want to tune in for, because it's an exclusive offer to our listeners. He's probably going to be giving away a book. I'm kind of throwing that out there. So you guys want to listen to next week's show. He's got a lot of great insights into the industry, just like our friend Keith that just came on. Another great interview. Every week we have a guest on. So, tune in. I think that's the end of the show. And Matt, again, thank you for coming in. And
thanks for having me. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, you're going to be back next week. Caleb's going to be out again with the baby. And that's it. Did we get...
Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening.
If you have questions, you can email us at robert@searchtalklive.com. We'll answer them on the air next show. You can catch us at Search Talk Live on Twitter. We're also on Facebook. Where else? That's it. iTunes. Download us on iTunes and Sprecher. If you like the show, you enjoyed the interview, please give us a like on the show. It helps us out. And check out our sponsor, robertpalmercompanies.com. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Search Talk Live is a presentation of the Robert Palmer family of companies.